Fiscally fabulous, fiscally fabulous. Lifestyle business is money. How can I make them work for me? Lifestyle business is money. How can I make them work for us?
All right, everybody, we getting ready to get this party started. You know how we do on Fiscally Fabulous. So one of the things I want to do is first and foremost, I want to welcome everybody. This is a great time to be fiscally fabulous. And one of the things that I know that we are going to love on this is we've been talking about global investing. We've been doing a lot of research. We've been doing a lot of traveling. And this is a great time when everything is going crazy and crazy over here in the States. We definitely want to make sure that we give everybody the opportunity, one, to travel to see what else is going on in the world. If you don't know who I am, Dr. Teresa R. Martin, ESQ, and they call me Dr. Teresa or Dr. T. And I'm a real estate attorney, I'm an investor, I'm an agent mentor, I'm a founder of REIA, and that's the Real Estate Investors Alliance, now you can, better known as REIA NYC. And if this is your first time being on any of our calls, I want you to, one, just be comfortable, right? But being comfortable means, please, in decency and order, please mute yourself. If we're not talking to you, if we're not unmuting you to ask your question, please keep yourself on mute. I know that it's early in some places, especially in the West Coast. You're probably still at work. Some people are driving, but we want to be really cognizant of being on mute because background noise really interrupts the flow of the session. Okay. So if this is your first time joining us, you're in for something different. This masterclass is not like an online event or a Zoom meeting. This is really a movement, right? One where we create legacy, not just listings, right? We don't just invest for cash flow. We invest for purpose, protection, and power. And our masterminds have taken us around the world, right? We've gone from Dubai to Egypt, to South Africa, to Paris. And next up, which is what we're going to hear about today, is Ghana, August 2026. And that's what this session is all about tonight. Okay, so I want to make sure that everyone gets a sense of just being empowered to know that this is something different, and tonight, as we continue about global investing, I want you to ask your questions. I want you to really understand what global investing is about and the opportunities in which Debert, I'm going to call her DC, right? And what she's going to share and what we're going to do, because our global tours is not just about sightseeing or vacations or even a workation, right? It's about insight. It's about opportunity. It's about community. It's about legacy, right? That's why we're part of Generational Wealth Zone, because we build generational wealth and we break the chains of generational poverty, one family at a time. And this is a full-on investment and mastermind experience, right? We're talking real estate tours. We're talking legal deep dives. We're talking cultural immersion. We're talking strategic networking. It's all set in one of the Africa's most opportunity-rich countries, right? Which is Ghana, right? And leading us is who you're going to hear from on this evening is Miss Debert Cook. Right. And she is a fiscally fabulous globetrotter herself. She's an entrepreneur. She's a travel planner. She's a part-time Ghana resident. She has over 30 years of experience planning high-level events and tours. And she'll be guiding us through the logistics and the land and the luxury and all that stuff. And I'm going to introduce you to her formally once I get some of this housekeeping off the ground, right? Because this is a special edition. This is not our typical format. Normally, we have hot seats and we do coaching and all that, but this is a special edition. And with this, I want to make sure that you know that if you are on this call and you want to get your masterminding and your legal laser sessions going, I will stay on for a little while after this session. And we'll make sure that whatever your burning questions about legal setups and business structuring and real estate strategies and business credit or whatever it is that you need, I'll do that before we close out the complete session. And if I don't get to your questions in time, then you can log into the community portal and you can ask your questions there and we'll make sure that we get you answered. Okay, get your questions answered. So now, without further ado, I'm going to introduce Debert because this is really exciting for me. I'm so thrilled because it's exciting to know that when you come into contact with somebody who really is in the know, it's really good to know that you're going to be in good hands. And this powerhouse woman who's been guiding tours for over 23 years, right? She definitely is going to be able to give us the insight about what it is that we need to know and what it is that we need to do. She was born into a hardworking entrepreneurial family in West Virginia, right? My husband got some roots in West Virginia, and entrepreneurship is in her DNA. And a part of her family's lineage, it includes business owners in beauty, in food, in funeral homes, and entertainment, which explains, if you know anything about her and her background, she encompasses all of that, right? And so with over 30 years of corporate experience, including Philip Morris, Chase, Business Week, she founded her own firm, Event Planners Plus. And that's a company that she's run for 28 years. And for the last 23 years, she's been curating global tours and corporate meetings around the world. And her background as a CMP, which is a certified meeting professional, her wealth of global experience and her incredible assets that she brings to us in the Fiscally Fabulous community is why she is a Fiscally Fabulous force, not just because of what she does, but because of how she lives. She is unapologetically global. She's fiercely organized. She's deeply connected. And I am beyond excited to have her as our guide on this incredible journey. But one of the things you do need to know is that she is right here, Staten Island resident, but she spends half the year in the greater Accra area of Ghana. And she is a true bridge between the US and Africa. And I call her a global citizen, right? Having traveled all 7 continents, 45 countries, including 14 African countries. And so with her wealth of experience and her deep connection to Ghana, she is definitely the person who is perfect to guide us through this real estate opportunity journey and cultural experience that we're going to encounter. So without further ado, I just want you to join me and welcome globally minded, fiscally fabulous, Miss Debert Cook herself.
I'm actually in Ghana right now tonight, and it's 11:30 for us almost. So, forgive me if I look a little tired. It's been a long day, but people are so excited that this group is coming. I've been talking to real estate agents. I've been talking to a lot of the immigration people that are going to be especially here for you to actually meet and talk, exchange business cards when you guys come over. It's going to be such a productive trip. All I can say is remember the time zone difference. When you come, it's going to be 5 hours different because we're ahead of Eastern time 5 hours. So make sure you start getting your rest 2 weeks before you travel, because once you get here, we're going to hit the ground running. 8 days is not enough time to really see and do and meet and greet and go through everything. You're going to be a little tired, but when you leave Ghana, you're going to have a business card portfolio of contacts of everybody you need to talk to, from lawyers to land developers, consultants, immigration, business setup people at the Chamber of Commerce. All that's going to be in your hands when you leave here. But we're going to hit the ground running. And then for those of you who, after the business meetings have finished for the 8 days, that very next day, we're going to start our cultural tour, which is another whirlwind experience. You're going to be in Accra, you're going to be in Kumasi, you're going to be going to see the slave dungeons, you're going to be eating at some of the restaurants, going to the jazz clubs, the casinos. But, don't blame me if you get worn out and you're like, oh my God, what am I into? Because it's going to be worth it. You're going to go home with a lot of culture and a lot of incentive on how you can build a future in Ghana. I retired here to Ghana 5 years ago. And since that time, my husband and I have helped 6 families buy land, go ahead and build homes, everything from single family to these beautiful mansions that you wouldn't believe are in some of these little villages. So we'll get a chance to see all that. And I also have a special guest tonight. One of the real estate agents has joined me, Mr. Rush Asare. And when we're ready, I'll introduce him and he'll be able to answer some of your questions on the real estate side too.
Awesome. One of the things I know a lot of people want to know first and foremost, let's just get this out, right? Travel and the tariffs, right? And all of that. A lot of people may be like, how is this affecting travel? Is this a good time to be traveling to Ghana and all of that? Let's just approach that right now, because I know that's the biggest thing that a lot of people want to know. So let's just get that off the ground first, and then we'll tackle like airfare and all of that, because a lot of things that people don't know is that when they come with us, everything is kind of like included except for some of those daily foods. But as far as their travel and as far as their lodging and all that, that's all a part of the package. So, let's talk about the tariffs and traveling and all of that.
Yeah, the tariffs are affecting the oil prices, and that's what's affecting the airlines and some of the ground transportation. Right now, it seems to be pretty stable. Ghana hasn't really had a hard time with a lot of this happening because we're an oil-rich country, and we've not really had any changes in anything except the dollar. The dollar right now is exchanging for what is called the Ghana CD. Every one US dollar, you're getting 11.3 Ghana CD. So your money is like 11 to 1. That means once you buy your package and you come to Ghana, every 1 US dollar you have actually is 11 Ghana CDs. And so your money is going to go so far on souvenirs, food, clothing, whatever you want to do outside of the package. If you want to go and experience some golf, or if you want to go to the jazz club or the casino, your money is going to go so far. So that upfront money that you're paying for the package, just look at it at the saving side, because the tariffs don't really affect Ghana at this point. And for the future, I don't really see anything more changing with the airlines. In fact, Delta has added an additional flight. Now they have 2 flights coming every day to Ghana, JFK, and then I think there's actually one from Atlanta. So that's good, because the popularity of Ghana is just overwhelming. The year of return brought over 1 million tourists to Ghana. And now we're in the holiday season, what they call Dirty December. The young people come over, they have festivals, and the airfares are really high right now, like $1,800 to come over right now, because it's a high season in Ghana. But when our program happens in August is not as expensive as it is in December. So that's why we planned this program for August. Plus, it's a time when, some of the kids are out of school, the parents don't have as many responsibilities, and then it's a short tour. It's 8 days. If you want to do the extension, there's another 4. But this way, we figure will be the most practical way to come to Ghana. And it's an excellent time. The country is safe. It's never had a coup. The crime level is low. And then there's so much to do here. So it's actually a great tourist destination. And we've not really been impacted by any of the tariffs.
Wow. And one of the things that some people ask the question about, as far as like coming into Ghana, about healthcare, right? Because the biggest thing, if you're going to move to Ghana or any other place, the biggest concern is, what does healthcare look like? You know what I mean? Like,
Yes,
how does that look? Yeah.
Exactly. And a lot of the families that have relocated here with my help, they are senior citizens, semi-retired and retired. So healthcare is very important to them. There are some excellent hospitals here. And on your free day, those of you who are interested, you can actually tour some of the medical facilities, meet the doctors, see how they handle themselves, their backgrounds. A lot of them are educated in the US and in the UK. So they're excellent doctors. In fact, myself, I get all of my medical work done here. And people go back to the US to get their medical and health physicals and things regularly if they want to use their insurance. But the prices here for the medical insurance we don't really qualify as a person coming from the US, but me as a citizen, I qualify for the health care plan, where you get a basic free physical, you get some of the prescriptions free. And if you want to tour some of the hospitals, I highly recommend it, because you want to know what hospital is near any property that you're considering. You want to know what the ambulance services are like. The hospital I go to, they even have a heliport where the helicopter can come out and get you. And then if you're in a village like I am, there's police escorts and there's a fire department. You call them, and if you need to be rushed to the hospital, you don't have to worry about traffic. They take you right through. So those are good things to know if you're a senior citizen or you have health concerns. You want to come, you want to find out about the prescriptions. A lot of people that have moved here don't even use their prescriptions in the US. They just buy them over the counter here. And they're like $8, and you get in the US, it's a $75 prescription. Over here is $6 to $8. So a lot of people find it not even worth it to try to get the doctor to send them a prescription, go home, or have somebody ship it to them. They just buy it here. Those are some main things you want to consider when you're moving to Ghana. The hospital, the health care, what's it like if I disabled? How do I get around? Another friend of mine, a couple of them, I brought their mothers, their elderly mothers here, and they have round-the-clock health assistants with them in the home. They feed them, they clothe them, they bathe them, they take them for walks, they sit and read to them, and their mothers are in their 90s. And they have an excellent care, and they choose this instead of having their mom or dad into a nursing home. They have 24-hour healthcare assistants in their home helping them, cooking the meals, washing the clothes, everything, and they're right in your home. And the only problem I've seen some of my friends have is their parents don't want to leave. But once they leave, they are so happy. And a lot of them have said, I'm glad I came to Ghana with my son or daughter. Instead of being at home in a dangerous city or an apartment, trying to get up and down stairs, trying to get back and forth to appointments, bring your parent here if you're interested. I have several people you can meet and talk to and see how they handle that situation. Yep.
And what about the schools?
For people with children, there's the American International Schools, and they are private. They are boarding schools, and the kids usually go down to Kumasi for school, and they'll come back on holidays. I don't have children myself, but I do have friends who, when you come over, you can meet them and talk to them about the school system. And that's a good point, because a lot of young women have moved to Ghana with children by themselves, no husband, and they have sustained themselves fairly well. They're in the healthcare field. Some of them were teachers. Others were on like a 6-month sabbatical. So they wanted to try out Ghana, and they got an Airbnb and just stayed while their child went to school. So those are things to consider too. There's the public school, there's the private schools. And most of the Americans who come here put their children in the private school. And the best one is the American International School, because whenever you take them out or transfer them, they get their credits. The credits are transferable anywhere in the world with the American National School.
Wow. So I'm just asking questions. Coach, would you unmute yourself and ask a question?
Can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay, wonderful. Thank you. This has been so insightful. I really appreciate you being on and giving this type of information. You mentioned about, hey, there's no coups or stuff going on, but as far as the stability of the government, because you never really know like what's going on, like what's great in 2025 and something pops off in 2026. And I am bringing my mother, and she said, make sure you ask her this question. So that's why I'm asking, just the stability of the government. Give us some insights on that.
Yeah, like I said, there's never been a coup here. We just had an election. It went very smoothly. There's not been an uprising. The military is here. The army is here. The country you don't hear gunshots. If I'm on the phone and with my sister and she hears a car backfire, she's like, oh my God, a gunshot. I'm like, no, that's a car backfire. Oh, you don't hear anything unless there's like fireworks going on. But the country is so calm and peaceful. And when you come, you will pick that up right away. There's not that hum, and there's not all the ambulances and the sirens. Even in the city of Accra, it's much calmer, much more calmer than you would think a major city with 25,000 people in it, 2.5 million people in Accra would be. So it's a very safe country. That's why I picked it myself. It's an English-speaking country. You don't have to worry about the language. The money exchange rate is fantastic, 11-1. And then you're only 10 hours from New York. If you want to take a flight or go to Broadway, you can go to London you're in the center of the world. So everything is much closer. You can fly to Italy. You can go to the other side of Africa, East Africa. You can pop over to New York, 10 hours, Istanbul, 10 hours. So it's just a great country to be in. And women are so respected here, and the young people respect the elders. I mean, they consider you an elder if you're 40, 50 years old. You walk into a room, they all get up and give you their seat. You buy something at the grocery store, they won't let you carry it out the door. They take your bag and carry it to the car for you. It's just phenomenal. The whole culture is different, and being safe. Like I said, several women I know moved here by themselves, with or without children, have their own homes, their own apartments, and they all just, and let me tell you what happened today. Matter of fact, one of the friends on our WhatsApp group said she lost her iPhone. She left it in the city, and she was like, oh my God, I don't know what I'm gonna do. Her phone rang, her other cell phone, her Ghana phone. We usually have two phones here, a US phone and a Ghana phone, and it's because you can call free. But she said they called her. Somebody said they found her phone. They brought it out to her house today, an iPhone. She could not believe it. She put it on the platform, and people were like, that's Ghana. That's why people move here, because it's a safe country. And it's a Christian country. There are so many churches. If you're into church and Christianity, there are mega churches. There are little churches. There are conventions. They go till 4 a.m. You would think you were at a nightclub. They have lights. They have flashers. They have all kind of things happening with the religious community. Always a convention going on. Big name people coming, artists. It's just, if you're into the church, you will love Ghana. I'm telling you.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Do you
Final question?
find that there's any kind of complications or disagreements in terms of American Blacks versus Blacks from Ghana or the continent in general? Because you always hear that they're not as accepting or welcoming. Have you experienced any of that?
No, I've not. A lot of people, it's such a terrible thing that's happened. They will try to say that. I've not experienced it personally. And I know people that say that. I can't figure out where they're getting it from, because I've not experienced it. There are so many Jamaicans here, Haitians. We're all Black people, but it is a tribal country. They believe in their tribes and they stick together as tribal people. So they have that connection, and they have their language, which we in Ghana speak it either Tree or Ga or one of the other languages. So that might be what they're experiencing too. But no, they love us over here. They see us as an asset when we come. We bring money, we bring skills, we bring opportunities, we bring jobs for them. So I have not experienced that, but I've heard people say it from the States, and I've heard it on TikTok and Facebook. They don't like us. They don't want us there. I can tell you that is not true. For the 5 years I've been here and 20 years I've been coming to Ghana, I've not experienced anybody saying, what are you doing here? We don't want you here. Go back to America. I have not, no.
Well, that's good to hear. I mean, I do believe that a lot of this is intentionally put out there to keep us divided and keep us from not wanting to go, because we feel like we're going to be taken advantage of and so forth. But it's good to hear, that's why it's good to go to these places and find out for yourself, and don't believe everything you see in the media.
Exactly. It is, they're trying to divide us because we're such an asset to the country. And when you come here, you will feel so welcome. The people are so hospitable. They see you, they speak, they don't just walk by you. They look you in the eye. They don't just glance you up and down. They want to get to know us. And I felt so appreciated here. I've had a wonderful experience with my neighbors, who some of them don't even have running water. They don't have electricity, but they're living such a strong family life, very core values with their children, their husband. And like I said, it's a Christian country, very Christian country. So people are so honest and faithful. Of course, you have those that are going to be on the other side too. But for the majority part, it's a wonderful country, being a Christianized country like it is.
I found the same thing in South Africa, but it's good to hear. And I think they may see us as an asset. And in this country, they're afraid that we might find out that, that unity thing scares the heck out of them here in America.
Yeah,
Thank you.
There's over, the last count that they did over at the embassy was 5,000 African Americans are permanently in Ghana.
Okay.
Wow.
We have a question from Keisha Gibson.
Yes, Keisha.
Good evening. Good evening.
Good evening.
Thank you for the information and for sharing, learning a lot. My question is, what has been your experience in helping business expansion in Ghana, like taking their American business and bringing it there?
Well, as a non-citizen, you must have a Ghanaian partner. And we'll have people here that you can talk to about setting up your business too. You must have a Ghanaian partner. And me being a citizen of Ghana now, I can be your partner, right? Okay. You need some help. But that's their law here. And it's to protect the people and to protect their economy and to make sure they don't lose control. People just coming in and setting up a business and taking advantage of the labor laws and everything. But we'll have people here that can help you with the process of finding how to set up an NGO, or if you want to set up an American-based company with a satellite office here, you can do that.
Awesome. And anything else, Keisha, regarding that?
No, thank you. I appreciate that. Thank you.
Awesome. Okay, before we get into Lily's question, is there any questions tour specific? Our August tour specific before we jump into the real estate aspect and all of that. But I do have a citizen question because I know a lot of people ask the question as far as dual residency and or dual citizenship. How does that work? And is that something that is available or did they discontinue that?
It's going to be brought back again. And from what I understand, they're going to try to do it around November again this year. When the announcement goes out, it's good to be connected to someone who's in Ghana so they can let you know, because it usually happens very quickly. They'll put the announcement out in October and the ceremony will be in December. And you have to get a lot of paperwork in. Some people that were in actually my class, they flew back and forth from Jamaica, from the US, from the UK. They flew 3 times, one to come for biometrics, where they take your fingerprint, your facial ID, and you fill out your form to have a background check. Then they flew back again to make sure that they had their documents, their visa, their passports for anything with children who also wanted to accompany them. And then they flew back a 3rd time to actually attend the ceremony. So it was very expensive for them. But if you're in Ghana, like one of my friends did, she just stayed in Ghana for 6 months at an Airbnb and took care of everything. She didn't fly back and forth. She didn't have to go to work because she worked remotely. And that's another good thing, too. If you do work remotely, Ghana is a great place to be because they have Starlink and the internet is really great here. I work a lot of remotely and I've not had any problems. So with the immigration, that happens, like I said, very quickly. And it's good to be connected to someone like Dr. Teresa, who as soon as the announcement goes out, you can know to go online and apply and start going through that process because it takes about 3 months.
Wow. So thank you for that because we had a lot of questions. We had a lot of questions on this one.
Yeah, and it's good if you're going to be it's good to consider being a citizen, because if you want to own land here, it gives you an advantage as a Ghanaian citizen. Without that, you'll learn more. But that's why a lot of my friends who have come here and bought property, they now want to be a Ghanaian citizen because you have more control over what happens with your property after your death or after your lease expires. You have more control over that. And then I'm going to let our special guest tell you a little bit more about the real estate side when you're ready.
Yeah, we can start now because Lily's question has something to do with when you buy property, is it long-term lease that goes back to the government or do you own it outright? And I know the answer to that, but I'll let you answer it.
So I'm going to introduce you guys to Mr. Rush Asare. He's a Ghanaian entrepreneur who brings a wealth of experience in business, finance, and leadership. He shaped his career beginning with the United States, where he flourished in relocating in Ghana. He relocated to Ghana 4 years, served 4 years in the United States Navy in the U.S., and where he worked at KPMG in New York after his military service. And then his expertise is very strong in finance. His analytical skills, he got a lot of that from his work at the New York Stock Exchange. And he has firsthand knowledge of how to trade stakes and working in stocks in the financial market. In 2019, Rush decided to return to Ghana, and that's when he began his network of local ventures and put all of his expertise in finance and wealth management into real estate and construction and business services. He's going to be on the ground here and we'll take you around to some of the magnificent properties that he has available, constructed and unconstructed, for depending if you want land or if you want to actually buy something that's already constructed. He holds a master's degree in accounting. And while his career in the U.S. was thriving, he did feel like a deep calling to reconnect to the homeland. And in 2019, he did so. He made a life-changing decision to return to Ghana. And that's his brief bio. You'll learn much more about him as we delve into the real estate side, and he can answer your questions, anything that you have about products, pricing, the construction process, how long it takes to typically complete a house, how much budget you need, what you can expect to spend, all those good things. So Rush, if you'll just chime in and let them know a little bit about your company that I didn't talk about, you can go ahead.
Sure. Thank you so much, Debert. My name is Rush Asare. I am a Ghanaian-American. I was born and raised in Ghana, but I left when I was 14. I spent about 13 years in America. I came back when I was 27. As she mentioned, I served in the U.S. Navy right after high school. I was in there for 4 years. After that, I went back to New York, went to college and did my undergrad and my master's, then worked for KPMG briefly before I started trading the stock market. And then I relocated back here to Ghana. And now I dabble in a couple of businesses. I'm well known for the real estate side of things. I am the founder and the CEO of Rush Properties. I mainly deal with land and also sale of buildings. And I'm also developing a gated community. I'm here to answer your questions. But Ghana previously had both leasehold system and a freehold. But for some time now, it's not legal anymore for people to sell land as freehold. So everything is leasehold. And as Debert mentioned earlier, if you're a citizen, you get up to 99 years and automatically renewable for most of the time it's 30 years or 45 years. If you are not a citizen, you can still buy land or property, but you get a maximum of 50 years by law and also renewable for additional 40 years, 45. So the advantage of being a citizen comes in the number of years that you get for the leasehold before you have to renew it. And when it expires, it doesn't go back to the government. I think somebody mentioned that. You just have to, okay, most of the land here is actually being sold by either a royal family or the chiefs. When the time comes, the reason why they actually implemented this leasehold system, because before the land belongs to a tribe or the chief might die, you serve by the time you're 90, 100 years, you would die. But what was happening was when the chief comes, they will sell as much land as they can forever. And sometimes to foreigners, the Chinese, Lebanese, they just sell forever. And there is no way of getting any benefits for the people in the community. The land is gone forever. And the government sat down and they decided to take that power away from them and just regulate it and do the leasehold system. And that's where they put this system in place and then prohibited the freehold system. Now, everybody here, including myself, I actually have a lot of properties. Since I'm in this line of business, everything is leasehold. So if somebody's telling you that they can sell you freehold, first of all, it's not even legal. And it's just not the truth. I've had a lot of people, fighting and looking for freehold. It just doesn't exist. And even if that person has freehold, they cannot, especially if you're a foreigner, you can do something illegal to have in the system, but if it comes down to the law, it wasn't legal. In a nutshell, I think asking questions will help me know what to say moving forward so that I don't waste too much time just talking. Yeah.
That was a great intro into the property. And thank you so much for your experience and the fact that you are New York, now in KPMG. That's awesome. And familiar with the stocks and all that jazz. So that's awesome. So we definitely have a great team in both you and Debert. So I'm very excited about that. So now that we're in the real estate side of things, does anybody want to raise their hand to come on and ask their question? Unmute yourself, ask your question. This is the time to ask anything that you have about real estate. If you can't, unmute yourself because you're in a position where you're driving, drop it in chat or just do whatever you can do safely. But this is the time to ask about the real estate side of things. Does anybody have any questions regarding real estate?
Welcome to REIA NYC, where eager to learn entrepreneurs become wealthy and happy to teach investors. Nothing happens until you decide to change your life. Oh, and do it in great company. Call us today and build your empire.
Coach, you got any questions? I'm muted. Oh, who's that?
That was Lily, me.
Oh, Lily, go ahead. Go ahead. Ask your question.
Okay, landlord-tenant laws out there. If someone was to, well, first of all, do they even have like multifamily, like how we have 2 and 3 family buildings here in the US? And even if not, when it comes to renting, does the law favor the tenant or does the law favor the landlord? Kind of like in New York, it can take maybe a year or so to evict somebody, but in North Carolina, it can take 10 days.
Okay.
So
Yeah.
that's what I want to know.
Yeah. Okay. Ghana, first of all, the rents here, usually landlords are taking the rent a year in advance, 2 years in advance, because the legal process here is pretty slow. And if you are renting a space in Ghana, you are not paying monthly. They will calculate everything for you to pay maybe a year or 2 in advance. Usually that's what it is, maybe minimum of 6 months. And the landlords are banking on the fact that they don't want to be chasing people Salomati here in Ghana. As a matter of fact, even your electricity bill is prepaid. Before you get electricity, you have to pay in advance. So everything is kind of prepaid, including your rent. You kind of pay in advance before you live in there. And when it gets down to you, like at the end of the year, and you're not going to renew or you are not paying, the landlord might not even go to court. They might use the police and stuff like that to get you out. So I would say it doesn't really favor the tenant. Of course, it would take some time. I just took a shot from my wife, and the people rented a space for 5 years, and they didn't do what they were supposed to do according to agreement. And the landlord took his keys and used the police. People don't usually go to court like that here in Ghana, except land and real estate. That's most of the cases, but people don't run to court for everything. Most of the time, they will just use the police or do what they think is right. So I think to answer your question, that's what it is. But landlords don't want to go through this chasing people every month, so they tend to take a year or 2 in advance, and they might, if you don't pay when the lease is up, it might take them like 1 or 2 months before they get you out. I've heard a few situations, none of them went to court, literally, none of them. So we are not so big on taking somebody to court to evict them. Yeah.
How much is the rents? If you're talking about bedrooms or whatever the case may be, like how are rents?
It depends. The rent varies like drastically. So if you are looking at somewhere in East Legon, which is like 10 minutes to the airport residential cantonment, these are the very expensive places in Ghana. At Ghana, if you're looking at those areas, like 10 minutes, 15 minutes to the airport, you are looking at anywhere between $800 to $2,000 for 1-bedroom apartment. But if you go out, like just 30 minutes away, you can get a room for $300 a month, $250 a month. It's just certain areas that's very expensive. But once you go out, the rent can become really cheap. But airport residential, cantonment, these places, the rent is very expensive. American standard. Basically, what you used to is the same thing. Once you drive out, 30 minutes out from the airport, so that's Adenta, Yarafa, these places, you can get, a 1-bedroom, 2-bedroom for $300, $400, $500, and a very nice apartment. You can get that a month. Yeah.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Lorraine, you're next.
Hi, good evening, everybody. Thank you for all the information. I have maybe 2 questions. So the first one for Rush, I hope I said that right. You had mentioned in your introduction that you primarily focus on land, and I think you said that you're in the middle of a gated community development. Mm-hmm. So my first question is as we're thinking about going to Ghana to invest? Like what in your opinion would be the most advantageous for us as a group? Like would it make sense for us to look into developing something over in Ghana, and kind of how long would that process take? Or is it more beneficial for us to go into something, I guess, as a group that's already developed and kind of do, I don't know if they offer or if they allow like an Airbnb type of situation out there?
Okay.
That might have been a multiple questions.
Yeah. So, I mean, it depends on his level of investment. Ideally, let's say somebody has like $150,000 to invest.
And this would be US dollars or
US dollars,
correct?
yes, yeah, US,
Okay.
US. I'm talking about US, yes. So let's say somebody's holding $150,000 to invest. You don't live in Ghana, because Ghana, one thing is, acquiring land is probably one of the hardest things that we can do in Ghana. Is
Okay.
not to scare you. I mean, people do all the time, but you have to be extremely careful. So most people tend to go for what you said. They have these high rises here in Ghana. I wouldn't say high rise, but 10 levels, 15 levels, 20 levels buildings that's popping up in this from the airport. That's a big thing here in Ghana that people, I even myself, I have a 2-bedroom at the Signature, and it brings in like $2,500 every month. So for somebody who does it here, or you don't really, because construction is also not a joke. It's totally different from what you're used to. Dealing with workers, dealing with a whole bunch of different people along the line, from purchase of the land, permit can delay and all that stuff. So you really have to understand Ghana to that development side, have the right network, because Ghana is really like all about network, right? So for example, I can get a permit, especially my terrain. I operate in certain areas under the same district, right? Pram Afiena is under the same Ningo Pram district. I can get a permit within a month. Some people have been waiting for 2 years. Yeah, so getting to development can be really easy once you have everything, lined up for you. So to get your feet wet and, to not risk too much as somebody who's now coming in, you are safer buying these high rises. That's like, you don't have to do much. You don't have to take any risks. It's just there. And then you invest your money, you put up for Airbnb, and then you make your nice, 10%, 12, 15% return on capital. That would be my advice. Until you get used to Ghana, you make the right connections, then dive into the development side of things. And
Sure, that's right. Helpful.
Jump straight into the development, and then unfortunately, get kind of stressed out and they get turned up and they don't want to invest anymore. So I suggest that, you go into it slowly. It can be really lucrative, but you just have to be careful. I mean, I have a story. I have a story of the first property that I bought here. I actually went to court for 2 years. I won. It wasn't a joke. It's not easy, but you have to just understand the system, and it's really peaceful. The law does work for sure, but you just have to understand the system. That's all.
Okay, thank you. That's super helpful. And if I could just ask a follow-up to that. So based on that insight, right? Like, are those types of properties available, or are those kind of hard to come by as well? Like the high rises, or like at least the multi.
There are plenty available. Those ones are available. Yeah. So that one, another tip too for that one is the high rises here, because of, if you go for mortgage, the rate is just so high, and loans in general in this part of the world. I won't talk about Africa, but Ghana, for me as a developer, having taken one CD from the bank, right? When I say CD, that's what Debert explained earlier, that $1 goes to like 11.30. She said, because the rate that these banks will give you is so crazy. So what developers do is, like, let's say I'm a developer and I'm about to build this 80 units in the heart of Accra. The first thing that you have to do, your stress is to get the land, get your design and everything, and then they start doing off plan. So how it works is, if you dive into the off plan, and usually you want to go for a reputable company, and some of the most reputable companies right now is Clifton Homes. Right now they're developing. They just sold out. They are on what opposite what they just finished selling out. They are building another one. So that's off plan sale. It will be a little cheaper. So let's say 1 bedroom, they might have like 3 years or 2 years to develop it from digging the ground to completion. The off-plan sales tend to be cheaper because you are basically giving them money up front. You have your payment plan, and they give some sort of incentive. So if you dive into that, usually when it's done, for example, when the building is done, 1 bedroom will go for like 150, but if you're buying off plan, you might get it for 115, 120. You just gotta wait for that 2 years to be done. So you have a few options in this. Sometimes people buy in the middle as well. When they get to the core shell, then they invest. So the price increases as they go, right? So when they launch a project, I just went to one like 2 months ago. When they launch a project, the day of launching, they might give some incentives, whatnot. Something that they were bringing to the market for 120, you might be able to get it for 110 at the day off or 115 at the day off. And then they increase it accordingly, right? So they have a lot in Accra. Is the new hardest thing, because as you mentioned earlier, as you know, it's a lot of people visiting the country and not a lot of places for them to stay. So everybody is really investing in people in the diaspora, especially investing in these high rises and turning them into Airbnb, including myself. I do one now. Yeah. So, but if you buy before the building is completed, I did a consultation with someone like 30 minutes before this call, and they're about to buy a completed building, 1 bedroom, and it was 150. It's quite on the high end because it's completed. So they were talking to me about what do I think about the price and what should they look out for, and I advise them they can get something cheaper, because once it's done, you can get something cheaper if you catch them like around 70% completion or 65%. You might end up paying like 125 instead of the 150.
Okay.
So yeah.
And then how's the appreciation? So like if we do buy it at either the mid or that higher range, like is the appreciation worth spending the money? I don't know if that question makes sense, but like
it makes sense. So there are people that invest solely on this kind of things. There are people that, for example, the signature, I was aware of this guy. So if this is your strategy, as I mentioned earlier, like something you could have done for 125 at 60% is now going for 150. So that's 25, $1,000 there on the investment. So you can do the math and see if that's good for you or not. But there are people that literally come in and they'll buy like 10 units, right? They'll buy 10 units of like, let's say the studio that they have or 1 bedroom. They would just come in, they'll buy it at the early stages, right? And then they wait for like 2 years. When the whole thing is sold out, they'll put it back on the market, and they typically make about 30%, 35% on their money, and they cash out. They never wanted the building to begin with. And there are people that do that as a business here in Ghana.
Nice.
Yeah.
Okay, thank you. I'm going to I know there's other questions, so thank you for that. That's super helpful.
You're so welcome.
Hey, you, right there watching life slip away day after day. Are you overworked, underpaid? At REIA Mastermind and Training, we are looking for a particular woman. Focused, interested in real estate, investing, and building wealth, she's more than a dreamer. She's already called the number at the bottom of the screen. What she has yet to discover is she just changed her stars. Welcome to REIA. Now you can. REIANYC.org, 646-437-6003.
Thank you, guys. We have 3 more questions up, and then we have 2 in the chat. Andrea, your question?
Yes. Good evening, everyone. This has been an interesting discussion. I have 2 questions, and thank you, Mr. Rush, for helping explain the leasehold and freehold situation there in Ghana. One question I had is regarding the leasehold status. Since most land, if not all land, is in that category, do you all or does the government give families like the first right of refusal, the first attempt to be able to like acquire the land, I guess, after like once the leasehold is over or about to be over? Or does that go up to anybody?
No, it doesn't work that way. So the leasehold always have a renewable clause in there, automatically renewable. Right?
Automatic. Oh, okay.
Automatically renewable to you, the buyer. Right.
Oh, okay.
So actually they've had a few court cases as well on this, but somebody asked a question earlier that does the law favors the tenant. In land, it always favors the person who bought the land, right? Because you've invested in the land. So, but on the lease itself, I mentioned earlier that as a Ghanaian, I get 99 years. Some of them do 75 now. People are getting a little bit greedy. So they do 75 years now, but 99 years is the maximum you can get. And it always has automatically renewable clause in there, whether you're a foreigner or a Ghanaian. So it's automatically renewable. Now,
Oh.
that automatically renewable is like, let's say a year before your lease expires, you go see the landlord and you are not buying the land over again. There is a calculation that land commission, which I cannot tell you on top of my head right now. That calculation, and you can look at it as your property tax in America, but at the end of the lease. So at the end of the lease, you have to pay something to the family for them to redo the documents again. But it's not like you're buying the thing all over again. And they cannot say, no, we're not going to renew. It doesn't work that way.
Okay.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You know,
Another question I had is related to, because my family is from Nigeria. I've been to Nigeria several times. We are border country country neighbors. Yeah. I will say that historically, at least in the time that I've been, I guess, focused on this issue, buying real estate in Nigeria is very cumbersome because you have concerns about people who you purchase land from and then you actually never get the land, or you purchase a house from and then all of a sudden there's 419, some kind of manipulation going on there. And, property you thought you had was sold to somebody else, right? So you may, anyway, so they're horror stories, as I'm sure you're aware. So I guess my concern as someone who's familiar with the African continent and how things function, is how can one guarantee that even though Ghana may be a more stable country than Nigeria at the moment, and has been for some time anyways, how can one guarantee that their investment is actually safe, right? Like, for example, I appreciate what you're saying, but I've always grown up with a critical eye of anybody who's involved in real estate because I've seen too many horror stories. So how can someone be secure in their investment in Ghana? And why would someone trust you? Offense to you personally, but hey, it's business.
Oh yeah, no, I have a YouTube channel and I've sold a couple of properties, and I do have people that come on there to share their experience with me there. In as much as I can actually tell you, I don't know about Nigeria, but I can tell you where the issues come from in Ghana. When it comes to is greed. Somebody might sell land to you and go and sell it to another person. Now you guys are fighting over it, or he knew there was an issue on there, he wouldn't tell you and stuff like that. For me, again, I do what I do because I went through something, which is what I said. I bought land. Everything was genuine, but somebody still tried to bother me. I went to court. I figured out a system, and I chose to use that to help people in the diaspora. And I sold land to over 200 people. I've built houses for people on such land, and it's on my YouTube channel. Some of these people come on there to share their experience with me and stuff like that. That's what I have to say for myself. Other people who are selling properties, there are genuine people selling land, but again, you have to be very, very, very careful. Not everybody is new. There are risks in the market. America, I don't know so much about American property laws, but there's escrows and stuff like that. So people are, here it's not like that. So it all comes down to reputation for the most part, right? And when I say reputation is, you can do all the search. I tell people, you can do all the search you want and all that stuff. And let's say I'm a crook, I will still end up selling to 3 people. There is no way you're going to find that out in your search. So that happens. Right. I mean, the land belonged to me, but I'm greedy and I sold it to 3 people. I cashed out and you guys are going to work and now you guys are fine amongst each other. That happens a lot. So it comes down to, of course, the paperwork is important, and then who you are dealing with, the person, they have any sort of reputation, public persona, or something like that. Somebody that they've sold land to, how that you can see it on YouTube, they share their story, or somebody else told you, like, I bought land from this person, and obviously they got their land, they're developing it. That's a good enough evidence for you. Yeah. I think that's what it comes down to down here, because people can do things and definitely get away with it. It's a valid concern. Again, like I said, I can only talk for myself because it's on my channel. I've had somebody, she's a nurse actually, couple of people, but hers is the most, I think, impressive. She's been to Ghana once to see her building after she had sent me over $200,000. And that's a brand I'm building to be able to help people who have no idea as to where should I start from. And some of us, especially the ones who've lived outside, we can think long term. You make your 10, 20, 15% profit. In the long run, you'll be okay. So it depends. Again, I'm not the only one. There are people who are doing genuine business. It's not a lot of us. But there are good people out there, and it's up to you to do your due diligence. It's not like it's impossible to do what you are planning on doing here. It's just you have to tread cautiously. That's what I gotta say. But people are buying land, people are developing here. There's plenty of stories of people buying land and developing. There's plenty of stories of people electing someone or genuine company to send the money to. Now, oftentimes in our community, since you say you're from Nigeria, most of the issues come from people giving money to their family members who are not professionals, never really handled a lot of money before. They touch the money and they get stressed and go and spend it, whatever it is. That's what I realize is family members, friends, they don't go for like professional companies that are insuring their money. Actually, if I'm getting to that to like reinsure, I give insurances. I insure the building from earthquake, all this stuff while I'm developing, workers getting hurt, like the standard procedure that they use in the West. I also insure the money that the person sent to me. So the first mobilization payment that I take, there's an insurance on it. So in case I take your money and run away with it, you can call the insurance company and take it. So we have all these things in place as well as a professional company. Again, most of the people that get scammed or send money back home and they don't get what they thought they were going to get is they were dealing with unprofessional people for the most part. From my experience, all the stories I've heard.
One of the things that I want to jump in and say, because I'm going to move to the next question, is that's the reason why we do the tour, right? Because the whole point of the tour, you can look at things on YouTube, you can listen to other people's stories on TikTok, but it's nothing like going there and meeting the industry experts that's going to be in the area, which is why we do the tour, right? So you're going to engage with the Ghana Land Commission, the surveyors, the real estate attorneys, the contractors. You're going to understand the legal processes, land registration, the building requirements. If you are uncomfortable with land because of the transfers and things of that sort, you may be like Lorraine and want to be in a high rise, which is where I'm going, right? Because I ain't doing no land stuff, right? And so the whole concept of it is you will have a chance to visit private homes, the condos, the townhomes, the gated communities, Airbnb, all these things. That's why we do this, right? It's why we do it every year. That's why we're doing Ghana, so that you can get boots on ground understanding, ask your questions. It's not like you're buying anything when you go there. You're going there, like Debert said, and coming back with a business card portfolio of all the connections that you've made so that you can make informed decisions, right? So Ghana is Ghana, Nigeria is Nigeria, and we're going to make sure that for this, we are going to make sure that we meet all the people that we need to meet. We're going to learn how to navigate the Ghana real estate market wisely so we can protect our investment, just like Rush mentioned about the insurance of the payments and the monies and things of that sort. These are some of the things that we're going to be doing. That's why it's a mastermind, right? So I don't want to sticky here, but it's just like here. You can get scammed here in the States. If you're in Virginia, you can get scammed by somebody in New York. You know what I mean? It's scams or scam. Whoever going to try to scam you, they're going to try to scam you. But all we have to do is do our due diligence and make sure that we are meeting the people, reading the documentation, understanding the rules and underlying criteria that we need to do, and hire professionals to be there on the ground, to be our eyes and ears to help us navigate. That's all we can do. So next question that we have is Valeria.
Hey there. I'm going to try to limit it to contain it. So my first question, a couple of things you mentioned. When you're buying land, and like Dr. T said, you have options to buy land, you have options to buy the condos, as you mentioned, the high rise. But when you're buying land, what are you paying for? Because there was a couple of things you mentioned. Like here, I buy a house, I know I'm paying principal, interest, tax, and insurance. I pay your water bills and that sort of thing. Is there anything outside of those standard things that we pay for in America that we'd have to take into consideration if we bought or lease land?
Just the land, or you are assuming that you're gonna have a house on there?
Yes.
Assuming a house on there. Yes, absolutely.
Okay, assuming that you have the house on there. Okay, cool.
Yes.
All right, so the land can be in a gated community, right? In which case there will be something that some people call the camp fee, some people call the HOA. I'm sure you know what it is. If in a gated community, you might have your HOA. Now, everything is cash-based here for the most part in Ghana. So all the stuff that you are saying on the mortgage and all of that is out. For example, this house we're looking at right now, I built it out of pocket. I pay for water, which is like $10 a month, and electricity. I have solar, so I pay like $20 a month. That's about it. That's all I pay on this house, nothing else. Now you have your insurance, which is also, since you own the house and you've paid everything. For most of the people, they own the house outright here in Ghana because I mentioned that earlier. The interest rate is so high that they are better off just taking their time to build out of pocket. Most people are only concerned about the electricity and water. The tax that comes at the end of the year, I have yet to receive mine. Something might take 5 years, but when it comes to us, it's like $100 a year. Like, it's not something that people stress about, the property tax. That's literally all you have to worry about as a homeowner. Our construction is brick and mortar, so maintenance is not really a big thing as far as things breaking. It's really not. I've been living here for 5 years now. It was a brand new house, but maintenance is not really, just painting, regular aesthetic stuff. So yeah, I mean, being a homeowner here is less stressful and definitely less costly. But construction can be expensive because of the brick and mortar aspect of things. So yeah, I hope I answered the questions.
No, you absolutely did. Absolutely. And I'm just going to sneak one more quick question in there. Quick question. Foreclosures. If you a person loses their house, let's say you're a citizen, you're in Ghana, you lose your house. Is there an option for someone that is not a citizen, a U.S. citizen, to come in and purchase some sort of in that way?
Yes.
Like some sort of foreclosure or something like that.
Yeah. The same right that you have to buy land and houses, as I mentioned earlier, as a foreigner, you get up to 50 years. Other than that, you are entitled to buy any other property. Doesn't really matter whether you're a foreigner or not. But again, I'll go back to the loan system, right? Foreclosure usually happen because you took a mortgage on a house. It's not really a thing here. Literally, like, it's really not a thing here. The mortgage system, the lowest you're gonna get on your mortgage is like 15% if you're paying back in dollars. That's the minimum. So people don't take it. Yeah, so foreclosure is really not a big thing. What you will find is, because I'm in this line of work, what you find is people who are desperate for money. Because again, remember, if you go for a loan here, 30% unsecured loans, 30%, 40%, and you got to go through arduous, long process to get a loan. So when somebody's in dire need of money here in Ghana, going to the bank is not part of it. They're trying to dispose whatever they have, and usually sometimes it's land or their house. So the foreclosure, the market here is a bit different from what you're used to. It comes down to the connection, right? So I will receive a phone call that, oh, this guy Rush might probably buy it. So this foreclosure deal that you're talking about, cheap assets, it comes down to your network here in Ghana. It's not like, on the open market. And it's not usually foreclosure. It's somebody who's desperately in need of money and they sell their property for less than what's worth.
Okay.
Thank you so much.
So thank you. Okay.
Yo.
All right, Lily, you're up.
Okay, excuse me, this would fall into due diligence, but here in America, when we want to qualify someone, whether it's a tenant or even a business person, we may do a background check, such as looking at their credit, Experian, TransUnion. Do they have that out there in Ghana? And we also look at criminal background. I was just curious, how would one go about doing that? And then also, as a private lender, if someone goes off with your money, you can always foreclose on the house, and then the house is yours. I was just wondering, does that work the same way in Ghana as well?
So Ghana, again, everything is really tailored. So I was to scale it back. Police report, criminal records, and all that stuff. Yes, I think somebody mentioned that way before you become a citizen, they would do, background check and all that stuff. Somebody mentioned that earlier. So it's the same thing. They do that down here. Credit score is really not a big thing. Again, Ghana is not like big on credit, right? You buy a car in cash, you buy a house in cash. Everything is cash for the most part. But there is certain sort of checks that they do. But Ghana is based on collateral. If they're giving you a loan, there's some sort of collateral. They don't really, the system is a bit different, right? So loan is first of all not a big thing. And if they are giving it to you, you need a collateral, or you are getting a constant salary from a government or something that they can tap into directly before you even get it. As far as the private lenders stuff goes, here in Ghana, you draft your own contract. If you are lending somebody money, you're going to have your own contract. And the contract is enforceable here. I mentioned that earlier, that the law works. So it won't be standard. Again, I'm not so familiar with American system. It might be standard for you as a private lender in America that you automatically get a house and whatnot. But Ghana, you might have to do your own contract to have that. And it's up to the person who's taking the money to agree to that and sign it. And once they sign it, yes, it's enforceable here to take over the property if that's what they agree to.
And that's where, Lily, that's why we have the attorneys and everybody there that we're going to meet there. That's where you get that information. You would like them know if you're going to be doing a private lender contract or PML, then what you would do is you would have to speak to an attorney that's there and make sure that everything that you want to be in that contract would be in that contract. And they would make sure that it is a part of Ghanaian law, that it's enforceable and things of that sort. So that's some of the stuff that is pretty much boots on ground. We can't cover all of that on this call. And most people will learn those type of intricacies, like I mentioned before, when we're there to meet the people and the experts that's going to be talking about that. Let's get to Tashina. Tashina, you're up.
Hello.
Hello.
I have two quick questions. First of all, I don't want to say your last name wrong, so I'm just going to say Mr. Rush.
Oh, no, you can give it a try. I think you can get it right.
I want to say Asare, but I don't think.
Oh, you got it. You see?
Okay.
You got it.
Okay. So first of all, I was excited to see you because I actually do follow you on YouTube. And so I've seen a lot of your work and I've been very impressed. So nice to meet you online. Two quick questions, hopefully. When you buy off plan, like say I'm gonna be like Dr. T, I want to get a high rise and get an apartment. If you buy off plan, how long do you have to pay the cash is my first question. And then the other question is, do most owners, like builders like yourself, help to manage the Airbnb? And like what type of fees does that require?
Yeah, so these high rises, they all have management in-house. But from my understanding, full disclosure, they tend to perform poorly as far as renting out your unit, sadly. So I'm going to get to that. Let me answer your payment. Again, it depends on the developer. But usually they might take 30% down, especially in the early stages. There's always some sort of big chunk down, and then you spread the rest. I just went to a lunch not long ago, 30% down, and the rest over a period of 3 years. Some people might say a period of 2 years. They keep raising, they keep increasing the years of payment. Somebody might say, you pay 30% now, and then you pay up to 70%, and then upon completion, you pay the rest. It depends on the development. When you go there, you see their payment. They always have it as part of their sales pitch. So each building is unique. Ghana is an art more than it is science. Everybody just wakes up and they choose to do stuff their own way, right? So each building is different in a sense. Somebody might want 20% down, spread the rest across for 3 years. Somebody might want 50% down, and you spread across the rest in a year. Every building and every management will be different. And yes, each and every building has management team in there. What I've found is I've talked to a lot of people, and the people that gave their units to the management in-house tend to perform poorly, because I will talk about my personal experience and my friend who just took it back and is doing well. They have a lot of, let's say they have 80 units, right? And they have like 50 on themselves right now. And they are managing the 50. You are just a number to them. And most of the time they tend to want, if somebody is coming to stay for a day or two, right? It's my unit right now, I have a private agent. So if you can be lucky to find a private agent who's good, it's better. Because a private agent will take 1 night, 2 nights. They will take it, clean it up. But this management, usually they don't want to do that. They want 1 week. So if they don't get 1 week for a whole month and they're sitting down waiting for somebody who's going to come and stay for 1 week, then your place is just not being rented. And if somebody's coming for 1 week too, you gotta remember they have other 50 people and they choose. It tends to perform poorly. From everybody I've spoken to that give their units to the management of whatever unit it is, they weren't too happy with their return. But outside of that, you can have a very nice return on your money if you have somebody who's actually on it and that's what they are doing. Yeah, from experience.
Okay, thank you. Dr. T, is that like, will you be able to meet those type of people there?
Yeah, so Debert has a whole team that will be assembled, and we're going to be seeing all different types of properties, and we will be able to ask those type of questions as far as the management, how does that work and all that. Obviously, if just like Rush mentioned, if I have somebody who wants to do 1 or 2 days, what's your thing? And then we might have to have that in the contract, right? Not the attorney put that in the contract, that they will write that out and stuff like that. But yes, we absolutely will go over that with the team during that luncheon seminar and stuff that we're going to be having.
Thank you both.
You're very welcome. Now let's get into some questions in the chat, and I'll try to condense these because they're all about Airbnb. So are there fairly reasonable inventory of properties that is for sale close to the airport? That's one question. So we'll get that, and then the rest is Airbnbs.
Yes.
Are there fairly reasonable inventory of properties for sale close to the airport?
Yeah, I have a couple. I mean, everybody who is really developing these high rises are all within 10, 15, 5 minutes from the airport. And there's a couple. I think, on top of my head, the Future, we got, at least about 10 of them that I know of right now. It's a lot of them coming up.
Awesome.
So I'll try to give Debert some of the names and then she will share with you guys.
Okay. And then another question, I'm going to combine two. What's the next best area for Airbnb a little further away from the airport? And then is Airbnb market oversaturated in Ghana? So those two Airbnb questions.
I wouldn't say it's oversaturated, but it's something that, Ghana has a housing deficit, by the way. In December, some people cannot even find a place to sleep, right? So I wouldn't say it's oversaturated. We are nowhere close to it now. However, everybody wants to put up these high rises now because it's hot and people are investing in it because there is money in there. So eventually, I think, but right now, people are making money on the Airbnb market. Adenta is not bad, but again, somebody who bought around the airport when people come to Ghana, that's where they want to be, right? But people do go outside, so Adenta is not bad. So you have to look at going a little bit east, west, north, south from Accra. That's what you're looking at, right? So Tema side, then if you go into the eastern region, Adenta side, Medina, thereabout. If you come to the other side too, you come to Afinias, maybe a little too far. Then you go to Wager side. But if you really want to invest in the Airbnb and get your money back, I would say try to stay 15 minutes from the airport.
Okay. So would that be the same? Would that be the same thing, Rush? Because another piece of that question was, what's the next area that's developing that's not yet as populated but has government support for community development?
But not for Airbnb, right? Just
period. Yeah.
Okay. Well, the government has put in a lot of promises to decongest Accra and take some of the developments to an area called Sopoli around Pram area. That's where they have a beautiful, beach. They have, beach fronts there and all that stuff in Pram. They are thinking about putting an airport in that area. They have affordable housing by the government over there. They have launched this tech hub with Dubai, some partnership, which they are expanding the road. So you are looking at Pram, you are looking at Fienya. Ebri already had this run. I'm sure you guys have heard of Ebri when they did the road in the past, the prices of Ebri and the development there. So right now you are looking at Pram, you are looking at Fienya, then you are looking at Sopoli heading to Adan. I mean, you don't know Ghana, so me saying all these names, you will even know. You will know that. But when you guys come, I'm sure it will make more sense then.
And someone asked a question regarding, and this is a financing question, so it's going to be based on, Don, this is going to be based on what he already discussed as far as, are there any 1031 exchange options or self-directed IRA to purchase? And I can pretty much answer that because that's a custodian question. Because it's financing, you're going to have to ask your custodian, would they allow you to make purchases in Ghana? I've already asked that question with 2 custodians for self-directed IRAs, and that was the answer that we've gotten. So I will turn it over to you, Rush or Debert, if you have any experience with people here in America and the States using their retirement accounts to actually fund investments in Ghana. I know you can buy it outright if you got $150,000 in it, but is there any limitations to using a self-directed IRA in Ghana that you know of, Rush?
Oh no, Ghana usually it all comes down to the money, right? So I think I have a proposal like that. Like I'm even dealing with the lady right now, but she is financing a business to come and pay. And as long as I'm getting the money as a developer, I really don't care. So it comes down to what you said, the custodian, the person that you're dealing with in America who's willing to give you the money to pay the person in Ghana. The person in Ghana doesn't really care. All we care about is getting the money. And as long as we can get the money, then the laws is, the IRS and the person you did a deal with in America, that's what matters. But the person in Ghana is never going to say no to the money coming in to buy the property. But what they're not going to take is, yeah.
And that goes the same thing as if you're doing a refinance out your home and you're pulling out equity and things of that sort. You can't let them know that you're taking the equity out to purchase something in Ghana, right? I've spoken to 12 lenders, okay, 12. And they said, we don't care what you do with it, it's your money. But if you say something in another country or something like that, there might be a flag. So you just got to be careful when you're trying to finance things and where you're pulling the money from, because it will trigger, and Lorraine can speak more to that as a tax strategist, but you really got to be careful. That's why we're having a mastermind. Right? Because you're not going to be able to know everything and learn everything from YouTube and TikTok. It's best to go there, speak to the people. And that's why we're having a 8-day real estate. So it's all about real estate. And then we're going to do the cultural stuff too. But that's going to be a side of that. And then the last question we have in the chat is, we already answered this, Annette, regarding the citizenship. Hubert mentioned that it might open back up in November. You just got to stay tuned, because if you have somebody there and then you might need to go back and forth, and it's a lot of paperwork. So we did answer that earlier on in the conversation. But this has been great. Is there any last minute questions before I ask Rush any last minute things that we should be concerned about? And Debert, if there's anything that you want to mention, if anybody has, nobody asked any tour questions. They asked about the cultural extension. They asked about Togo. They didn't ask about any of that. Any question?
I have one.
Go ahead.
Well, I had a list of questions, and some of them you've covered already. Basically, that this is a cash and carry kind of place. Are there multifamily properties available? I'm a multifamily person. Are there multifamily properties available? And would there be a team available to manage that property? So you kind of touched on it already. So you do have private property management companies that will oversee the property for us. And how does cash flow work from Ghana to the U.S.?
Okay, so you will basically, it depends on how you want to set it up and how you want to transfer money. So you create a bank account here. When you come to Ghana, let's say you have a property in Ghana. Let me take a last step. Yes, you can find a multi-family home. It's not a normal thing, but it's there. People develop in that regard. And you can also develop it yourself, right? But it's usually single-family home. There are like apartments, single-family homes, multi-family homes. Not so much of a thing, but you do see it, right? It's not on the market as much as you are used to, but it's there. Apartments all over. Single family, multi-family, not so much. Apartments all over. Cash flow, you will have to set up a bank account here, which everybody can. When you come here, you get something known as the Ghana card. If you're a foreigner, it will say if you're from the USA, it will say USA, but it's all Ghana card. But it will show that you're a foreigner with that card. Once you cannot open a bank account without having that card. And that part, it only takes a day to get it, really. And you can open a bank account, and then you can take all these payments here that happens in Ghana. You can have it in there. You can have a dollar account. You can have a British pounds account here in Ghana. You can have a CDs account. I have all three. And then you can transfer money from your dollar account to your US account whenever you feel like. So let's say you are a landlord, you are making $3,000 a month. You can choose at the end of the year, you're going to transfer the money out of Ghana to your account, or every month you're going to do it, which is going to be costly because there are a lot of charges as well with these banks, right? The cash flow will come to your account in Ghana, and it will be up to you to decide how you're going to move the money to America. You can easily transfer it. I think my bank charges a flat fee of like $50, 0.007% or something like that. There's fees on there. So if you're okay with the fees, then you can transfer it according to what you think makes sense to you financially.
Okay, so there's no legal, I don't know, what do you call it? IRS issues.
Right. That's what they're storing you in taxes. So you got to make sure that you have a tax strategist and a CPA here that understands that you are conducting business in Ghana, and that's between you and IRS. It has nothing to do with Ghana.
That's right.
So if I wanted to purchase, because I've seen a lot of the presentations on YouTube, and they're giving tours of these same luxury buildings that you're talking about that they're developing. And if I wanted to buy one of those apartments and rent it, not Airbnb it, rent it, would that be a profitable strategy based on the price of that I would have to pay for the apartment? Say I wanted a 2-bedroom or a 3-bedroom. Is that a profit? Would it be profitable to do that?
For my experience, you make more money on Airbnb, rental, 1-bedroom. Yeah, it won't be bad if you're able to buy. Well, what do you consider to be a nice return on capital? What percentage? What do you?
I don't know.
To answer your question, you answer your question when you say, is it possible? Maybe somebody's used to sweet deals where their return is like 20% or 15%. So that's what I want to know. What return do you consider to be profitable? 10%, 8%? Then I can easily answer your question. 8%, 7%, 10%, 15%, 20%. I tell you that.
I don't know that way because it would depend on how much I had to pay for the building, for the apartment.
But that's a number that we would have to run. That's a number that we would have to run because that's the same thing as here. There's no difference. So the way you calculate your return is the same way you calculate your return. It's a cost thing. So if you're going to pay $150 US and then you can rent it out for only $250 a month, then obviously that might not work. But if you be me, so it's a number thing. So that's the same.
So it's the same. Okay.
It's everything is the same. The only thing that's different is mortgage is not your friend in Ghana. Everything is cash. Everything else is the same. So how you do your math in America, where you are thinking about your 20% cash on cash return and all that, here everything is cash on cash.
Yeah, because we're usually dealing with mortgages here. So then we subtract, mortgage fees and all that stuff monthly.
Exactly.
And then what we have left is our profit.
Okay. So yes, your cash is in. You deduct in the prices rent, and obviously they're gonna pay their own electricity and stuff like that. So you're essentially left with how much you put in, how much you got. You do your math. It's pretty simple and straightforward, actually, here that it is in the States.
And it's easy to calculate because it's cash on cash. So you know what cash you put in, what you're getting back. So cash on cash return is easier to calculate than with the mortgage, because the mortgage, your cash on cash is higher, obviously, because you have a mortgage, but that's not the case when you're doing all cash deals. So it's the same as here. If we did an all cash deal here in the States, everything else would be the same.
Okay. All right. So that's a number I'll have to play with. All right. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
All right. You're welcome. But there's a big one. I think if you're looking at 12%, 10%, yes, you can rent it out long term, and you can get that.
Awesome. Thank you, Rush.
Yeah. You're welcome. Thank you.
Debert, I'm going to turn it back over to you. And Rush, you can stay in case somebody has anything, but we're going to do our final. Anything that they should know about the Mastermind, the tour, about what we're doing and all that. I do know, and if everybody hasn't gone to the link The link is there. James has dropped the link in there. If you are interested in joining us in Ghana, it's limited to 15 people because it's intimate and it's an experience, right? It's a nothing. We're gonna have 40 people, and if you are interested, all the information is there. Once you fill out the form, then that form goes to Debert, and then she's gonna reach out to you and follow up with you for your deposits. And then if you want to make a payment plan or you just want to wait and pay your balance, however that works, that's all that mumbo jumbo, that's Debert. Okay. If that's something that interests you, by all means, go online. There's no deposit you have to make when you fill that out because that form goes to Debert and then she reaches out to you. And that's how the process starts. Okay. But Debert, any other questions? Anything we should know about the culture experience?
Absolutely. Anybody that's interested and does not have a passport should start applying for their passport right away because there's a backlog on passports. Absolutely. And then if you're interested in Togo, we can help you get your visa because you're going to need multi-entry visa for Ghana to come and go to Togo and come back to Ghana. So those two things are very important. You need to get a passport if you don't have one already, and your yellow fever shot. Make sure you have all those things in place and talk to your doctor about any other medical things that he may suggest you do for Ghana.
And if somebody has a friend that is not going to fly out of JFK, they will speak to you about whatever airport, if they're coming out of Atlanta, if they're coming out of Charlotte or something like that.
Yeah, absolutely. We'll help them with those arrangements.
Okay. We have something. Can you please repeat the vaccinations? It's only yellow fever, but you can repeat the vaccination.
Yeah, the mandatory one is the yellow fever, and the malaria pills are not mandatory, but doctors highly recommend it, especially if you're coming when we're going in August with the rainy season. And then your visa, I can help you with a friend of mine at the immigration that can help process your visa. You get it back in like 2 weeks, and it comes, it's not all that paperwork that you have to do if you go online or you try to get it through the embassy. So just call me on those things. But right away the passport, because there is a backlog. Somebody told me it took them 6 months to get a new passport. And then your travel insurance and your medical travel insurance, which is very important. And those links are on the website too. You can go through some providers there.
So guys, if you are interested, that is something that I encourage you to do. Go, and like I mentioned, it's 15 slots. They're not available actually. And if you are interested, that's something that you want to do. I want to thank you, Debert, for coming on, and Rush for all your real estate information and all of that. Once we have our tour complete with the registrations and everybody, we will have a team call and we will have the industry experts to answer all more specific questions regarding our stay and everything like that. But this has been great. And I hope that you got an overview about investing in Ghana, touring Ghana, and all of that. That's what this was, an overview. But please, if you have any questions or if you actually just want to get more information, you can fill out an interest form. But if you are ready to say yes and you want to start that legacy build with Ghana with us in August, please go to ghana.reanyc.org and make sure you fill out the registration form so that I can get that to Debert ASAP. You're going to have to upload your passport picture and all that, because these are some of the things that we need to have, making sure you're not expired and making sure you have more time and all that. So hopefully you get that. So thank you so much, Debert. I'm going to return you back to, I know it's 1:30 a.m. your time. Go to sleep, go to bed. So thank you and Rush for taking the time. And I know you're 5 hours ahead of us, so I know it's sleepy time. So thank you for getting on and giving us this information. And we will be in touch soon. And when you get back to the States, contact me and let us hook up. Whether you're joining the tour or just joining the community, you are welcome here. REIA NYC, the Fiscally Fabulous platform. We are not just about building wealth. We build it together, both legally, globally, and unapologetically. And I want to thank you all for showing up. And thank you for wanting to dream bigger and choosing a legacy lifestyle. Because the bottom line is, whether you want to invest locally, nationally, or globally, now you can. That's what REIA NYC is all about. We want to make sure that you have the community, you have the resources, and that you actually have a family that you can do it together. We play hard, but we work just as hard. So thank you guys for showing up. If you have any questions that we did not answer, please feel free to drop them in the online community, and we'll make sure that we get your questions answered. And if you're ready again to participate with us, go to ghana.reanyc.org.
Fiscally fabulous, fiscally fabulous. Lifestyle businesses